and today I'm going to solve a convoluted mollifier by aqjhs. If you would like to try this puzzle for yourself, it'll be the first link in the description. Let's have a look at the rules. Normal sudoku rules apply, so we're going to place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, every column, and every box. An arrow with 2 digits A to B refers to the cell at row A, column B, and the digit in that cell has to equal the average of the arrow digits, i.e. is equal to A plus B over 2. So if this were a 2 and this were a 4, then in row 2, column 4, which is this cell, we would place the average of 2 and 4, which is 3. Okay, no two arrows refer to the same cell. So if this arrow were 2 and 4, we would not be allowed to have this arrow being 2 and 4 because that would also refer to this cell. Okay, I am going to restart the puzzle to reset the timer, and let's begin. Okay, my first thought is that we are going to have parity being relevant. Why do I say that? Let us suppose that this were 2 and 3. That would mean that in row 2, column 3, we would have to place a 2.5, which is the average of 2 and 3. Well, 2.5 is not a valid sudoku digit, so I can't have an odd and an even. I need to have 2 odd digits, which add to even, which can then be divided by 2 without a remainder, or without any fraction, or 2 even digits, which also add to even. Okay. So that's one thing. Next. Right. So there is a relationship between the coordinates of the cell and whether or not it can be referenced by an arrow. Because supposing this cell were referenced, it would mean that there would have to be a 1, 1 arrow somewhere, and then the average of that is 1. But even now, even though I don't know that there is an arrow, or if there is an arrow pointing to that cell, if there is an arrow pointing to that cell, the only valid digit for there is a 1, even if I don't know which arrow it is. So as soon as I can determine that there is an arrow pointing to this cell, I can determine that that's a 1. For these 3, this is row 1, column 3, that's row 2, column 2, that's row 3, column 1. The average of 1 plus 3, or 2 plus 2, is 2. So each of these is eligible to be a referenced cell, but only one of them is, because I can only put a 2 in one of those 3 because they're in the same box. I can't put a referenced cell in either of those because if there were an arrow that pointed to that cell, to those cells, the value that I would have to place there would be 1.5. So, I can never reference a cell that is where the sum of its coordinates is odd. And if I reference a cell where the sum of the coordinates is even, I know the value that's going in there. So I'm going to mark that with a green. That is a potential cell that could be referenced. Potential cells that could be referenced in purple. Those in teal. I'll come back and fix that in a moment. There we go. Those are green. Those are pink. Those are orange. Those I'll put as red. those as yellow, and that as blue. Okay, so what I have highlighted are all the cells in the grid where the sum of the row and the column is even. But more than that, what I've done is made it so that the average of that sum is all the same value for the same color. So what that is saying is that if this is referenced, then we know that it's going to be a 1. If one of these purples is referenced, we know it's going to be a 2. If any of these teal cells are referenced, we know it's going to be a 3. Now, what's the maximum number of referenceable cells do we have? Well, even though I've got 5 cells in this box that are coloured, only 3 of them are actually referenceable because I would have duplicate digits if I referenced more. So the maximum I can reference in this box is 3, maximum I can reference in this box is 2, maximum in this box is 3. And so the number of colours is going to be the maximum number of referenceable cells in that box. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells with, or 5 boxes with 3 colours in, and 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes with 2 colours in. So that is 5 times 3 is 15, 2 times 4 is 8. That makes a total of 23. So now I want to count the arrows. We've got one, I think the easiest way is going to be count arrowheads within a box. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we have 23 arrows, each of which must refer to a different cell, and we have a maximum of 23 referenceable cells. Therefore, every unit has its maximum. So I'm going to have a 1 here, because we know that that's going to be referenced. I'm going to have a 2 in one of those. I must have a 3 in one of those. I've definitely got a 3 there. And I've got a 3 in one of those. I can put 4s in there, there, and mark those in the corners. All of my pink cells get 5s in corners. Those get 6s. And corners, that's a 7. Those are cornered. One of those is an 8, and that's a 9. Okay, so because I have 23 arrows, I have 23 referenceable cells. Each color box combination is one referenceable cell. So where I only have the color once in a box, that must be a referenceable cell. If I have the color more than once in a box, then those are the candidates. And now I think I want to take away that coloring because I think that's given me a start on my odd even. And I think that the odd even coloring is going to be more useful. So let's do that. Yes, got it right. Okay, so for example, I know that this is a 3. In fact, let us color. I do orange for odd because they begin with the same letter, and blue for even because they are orange and blue make a good contrast. Okay, so this must be odd, this must be odd, therefore this is odd, therefore this is odd. So they are all orange because, remember, we always have to put same parity digits on an arrow. Therefore, those can't be 2 because 2 is even, and that is a 2. Okay. We now have 5 odds in this box, so those are all even. Okay. These 2 must be even because they connect with the 4. Those 2 must be even because they will connect with the 6. So these 2 are not 5. That is 5 and odd. And in fact, I've got 4 evens in the box, so those are all odd. Okay. Right. If this were even, then because of the arrows, I would get 3 more evens in the box, but I can't do that because that gives me 5 evens in the box, and I only have 4 available, 2, 4, 6, and 8. So they are odd. Okay, those 2 are the same, those 2 are the same, those 3 are the same. Those 4 are the same. Okay, these 2. I know that one of them must be a 4 because we need a 4 referenced in this box. And if one of them is a 4, the other one is even. So they are both even. And now these 3 can't be even, they must be odd. This now must be odd. I've got 4 evens in this column. So those are odd. I've got 5 odds in this row, so this one must be even. Let's do that the right color, or I'll do myself a mischief. Okay. Anywhere else? Um, 3, 4. So 2 of those are going to be even and with 1 odd. No, no. Okay. Well, that looks... Oh, yeah, no, I've got some here. I can't make those even anymore. I'd have 5 evens in the column, but they all have to be the same parity, so they are odd. Okay. Only got room for 1 more even in this row. So if this were even, then still one of these is even. So at least one of these 2 is even. But I can't have them both even, because if they were both even, then I would have 5 even cells in the box. So one of these is an even pair. One of these is an odd pair. So that means that that's an even odd pair. So that's an even odd pair. That's one of each. And if that's an even odd pair, because we just said they can't be both the same. So if that's even, that's odd, and if that's odd, that's even. So that's 3 evens in the row, one of those two plus that one. So this one here must be even. Anywhere else I can pull the same trick? Well, I can probably make that odd because it attaches to the 7. That's probably useful. Okay. All right. So somewhere in this grid, I have a 1, 1 arrow. Yeah, I guess let's do some sudoku. That is C's 2 and 6. That is 4 or 8. That is also 4 or 8. These are from 4, 6, and 8, but that one's not a 4. Those are 5, 7, and 9. That is a 2, 8 pair. Okay. This digit refers to this row, row 5, column, something odd. Well, it could be row 5, column 1, which would place a 3 there. Row 5, column 3 would place a 4 there. I can't do row 5, column 5 because that would mean 2 5s in the row. Row 5, column 7 would be a 6 there. Row 5, column 9 would be a 7 there. Okay, that's perhaps not as useful as I was thinking. Okay, I've got a 1, 1. I've got a 3, 3. I've got a 5, 5. I've got a 7, 7. And I've got a 9, 9, which are definitely referenced digits. And they are all odd. I've also got a 4, 4 and a 6, 6. So I have, I could have an 8, 8, but I don't know yet. I can't have a 2, 2 because that's already been, that would need to be a 2 if that were a 2, 2. All right, but, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits that have to be where the head and the tail of the arrow are the same digit. So let's mark arrows where that's possible. Let's give them greeniness. So I've got 1 there, I've got 1 there. That one could be. That one could be. This one could be, but not both of those. Let's remove that. That could be, but again, only one of those pairs. That could be. That could be. Anywhere else where arrows cross a border. So I have 1, 2, effectively 3 here, 4 here, 5, 6, 7. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Let me just double check that. That one crosses a border. That's 1. That's 2. That's effectively 3 because I can't have all 3 digits be the same. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. That's 7. So there are 7 pairs of cells that are on arrows that can have the same digit. And I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for sure, and possibly 8. But I don't have 8 to give me, so that can't be an 8, first of all. Secondly, I now have 2, so that means that the arrows that are crossing borders must be the ones that have the same digit. So I can immediately put a 3 there because I need 7. I have 7 arrows that work and I have 7 digits that require it. So that must be a 3 for that one. That must be a no, that could be the 2, 8. Oh no, because I need 1 for the 6. So that has to be the one for the 6. This has to be the one for the 4. That has to be the one for the 7. So I'm missing the 1, 5, and 9. So I'm going to uncolour those to start with. So those must be the ones that do 1, 5, and 9, which makes them odd. And each of these pairs are going to be the same. So I'm going to remove the green flash from the ones that we have resolved. And that will hopefully remind me that I've actually got essentially 159 triples for this. Okay. Let's see if there is some sudoku that I can do. Okay, so 6 is in one of those two. 4 must be here by sudoku. So that I can make even. And I can make this even because that's the 4th even in the box. No, try that. And that's not a 6. So that is a 2, 8 pair. This is very nice. Okay, that digit sees both of those and both of those. And that is a 159 triple. So it sees 1, 5, and 9. So that can't be a 5. And it can't be a 1 or a 9 either. It can't be a 3 or a 7. So that's even. And that's the last even in that box. So those are odd. That was nice. Remaining evens in the box. Remaining evens in the column. Okay. I have a 3 in one of those two, but I know that one of these is going to be a 3 because it's not 159. I need a 3 in this column here somewhere. So this must be a 3 by sudoku. In fact, because that was a 4, that can't be a 7, and that's on the 7 diagonal, and it's now the last remaining 7 in that box, so that must be a 7. So row 7, column 3 is definitely a referenced digit. I don't know how it's going to be, but row 7, column 3, that one's going to be referenced, and therefore is a 5, and we can therefore remove those. That means that that is not the 5. That sees 3, 5, and 7 and is odd, so that's 1 or 9. That makes that a 7. That I can remove the 4. This 4 resolves that for 8, which makes that a 6, which makes that a 4. That's now not a 4, and this is. So that's 2 or 8. But more than that, that's a 2 or 8 with a 4 for the B digit. That's a 2 or 8 with a 4 for the B digit. And because they can't reference the same cell, that must be a 2-8 pair. So what do I want to do about that? Let's think. Well, so row 2, column 4 is a 3. Okay, so that would reference that. And row 8, column 4 must be a 6. So we can know that that is the referenced cell there for that 6. That removes that candidate. And there was something else I feel like I spotted. What was it now? My brain saw it while I was trying to resolve that, and yes. Right, we've removed 5 from here. Therefore, we know that there is a 5 in one of those, and there's a 5 in one of those. So in this pair of columns, we know that there is either a 5 here and here, or a 5 here and here. Therefore, there is a 5 in one of those two, so those aren't 5s. So therefore, there must be a 5 in one of those 3. That eliminates a 5 from there, which places a 5 here. And that means we need a 1, 9 arrow, row 1, column 9, because that's the 5 on the 5 diagonal. But we can remove 5 from there. Okay. So this is a 7 or 9 by sudoku. That is a 6-8 pair by sudoku, which makes that a 2. And if that's a 2, this must be an 8, because that's I can't have another 2, 4. So this is a 2 by sudoku. That makes that 8, and that's 2. This is an 8. We have a 2 here. If that's an 8, then that is not, and that is now an 8 that is referenced. So this digit here sees a 3 and a 7, so that is 1, 5, or 9. If this were a 5, that would mean that that's a 4. Yeah, okay, never mind, that's going to work. All right. Nope, never mind. Okay, that's not a 5 because of this 5, so that's the only place for a 5 in this box. And that means that that is a 5. I've now resolved that. So that's not the, that's not the 5. That is a 1 and 9, either a pair of 1s or a pair of 9s. That means that that is not a 5 by sudoku. In fact, we already had that from the 5 in the box. So where does the 5 go in this row? That must go there. So row 5, column 3 is a 4, which is correct. And then row 5, column 7, and row 5, column 9 must be 6 and 7 respectively, which they already are, so that's resolved. Okay. Row 7, column 1. Row 7, column 1 could be a 4. Row 7, column 8. Column 9 would be 16, 8. So that would work. So that's still possible there. All right, this is 1, 7, or 9 by the row. And this is 1, 7, or 9 by the box. One of those two is a 7. That's 1, 7, or 9 by the row and the box. Okay. This must be a 4. Let's do some more sudoku. This is a 4. We already know it's not a 7. I just didn't remove the pencil mark. So 6 in this column. Can't go in those two cells, so that must be the 6. And that's the 8. I've now got all my even digits in here, so that's odd. Let's mark that as even. That is not a 5 by sudoku. That 6 means that that is not a 6. And that one is, that displaces a 3, so that's the 3 that's on the 3 line. So that is a referenced digit. So I need a 5, 1 somewhere to reference that 3. Okay, that can't be the 5, 1. I don't have a 5, 1 in that box. I don't have a 5, 1 in that box. Don't have a 5, 1 in that box. These arrows, so the only arrow that can be a 5, 1 is this one. So that's a 1. That makes that 9 and that 9, and then this one and this one. Okay. That is, right, we know that that is odd, and we know that this is even. So that is 2 or 8, but we already have a 2, 6, so this must be the 8. So row 8, column 6 must be a 7, which it already is. This is a 9. That is a 1, 3 pair. In fact, this one tells us the order, so that's a 3, that's a 1. This is a 3, 7 pair. So 9, 3 is 12, which would make that 6, which it could be. 9, 7 is 16, which would make this an 8, which it can't be. So that is not 9, 7, that is 9, 3. That's now a 7. That gives me a 9 here. So row 3, column 9 needs to be a 6, which it is. That resolves this 7 and 9. And that resolves this 7 and 9 here. So row 7, column 9 needs to be an 8, which it already is, and row 1, column 9 needs to be a 5, which it already is. That we get a 1 there. Row 1, column 3 gives me that 2. That's a 7. Row 1, column 7 needs to be 4, which it is. Okay. This digit must be a 3, last odd digit in the column. I'm actually going to remove these green flashes now. These two digits are 2 and 3, which must go this way round. There we go. This one is looking down at that 9. Okay, these two digits are 2 and 5, and I know the order of those. There we go. That means that those are all odd. These are both even, and I know the order. I need an 8 in this row still. That must go there. Six goes here by sudoku. That makes those are both, means those both odd. Let's get the, try again. There we go. That is a 5-1 pair, which I don't think I know the order of yet. That's a 1 or a 3. That's a 1 or a 5, but that 5 tells me it's a 1. So that becomes a 3, that becomes a 7. That's a 5, that's a 1. This is odd, making this even, and 2, this is odd. This must be a 1, and this must be a 5. And that is a wonderful puzzle. That is lots to think about. Definitely the parity helped. And first of all, the number of arrows matching the number of referenceable cells for the initial break-in, and then the number of pairs of cells that could have the same digit matching the number of cells that we knew had to be required that because of our from our initial break-in, particularly placing the 5 here because of these cells having to be even. Yeah, that was very, very well done, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, aqjhs, for creating that puzzle. If you like this solve, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see some more, and I'd love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Be seeing you.